We all know about the speed of sound, but have you ever thought about the sounds of speeding? If you drive over the speed limit, there are lots of sounds that you might hear. You could hear the sound of your vehicle crashing, the sound of first responders desperately trying to save you. You could even hear the sound of people crying at a funeral. Because if you drive over the speed limit, you could do damage that's beyond repair. One way or another, speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA. Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea from Game Informer, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. After a bit of a lull in our release calendar, we have our next major Nintendo release of 2023 out today. That game is Pikmin 4, and later in the show, we'll be getting Kyle Hilliard's full review of it. However, before that, we have a little bit of news to get to, and joining me for that is Game Informer's Marcus Stewart. Marcus, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I am on the streets of Nintendo, here to report the news.
With your brand new microphone.
Yes, and Nintendo Town. New Donk City, I guess, would be the Nintendo Town, maybe.
You're a member of the press, New Donk, the New Donk Times, obviously.
Yeah, like I would like to see New Donk City's like equivalent of like NPR.
What would it even be called?
It'd be like New DR, New Donk. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, in Minnesota we have MPR.
Okay.
So I guess, yeah, NDR would make sense for that. But anyway, we're here to talk about the actual news, and that is, you know, last time you were like, you always have me on when there's Pokemon news, and you don't really play that much Pokemon. We're going to do the same thing here.
Got to keep the streak alive.
Got to catch them all. Last time you were on, I told you Pokemon Sleep was starting to roll out, and today, Marcus, I can tell you that Pokemon Sleep is now available in the US. You can download it on your phone right now if you go to iOS or Android App Store. And you can get sleeping with your pal Snorlax.
Okay, better get on that. You know, I knew it was out just because my Twitter feed has been flooded with people sharing their QR codes. So I guess follow each other.
There's a friends component. I guess that makes sense.
I was going to ask you about that. I was like, I didn't realize there was any sort of like social component to it, but I guess so.
So I was traveling most of this week, and I have not had a chance to use it yet. I did just download it right before this show started. I'm going to see. But I can't wait to share just all of my sleep data with not only the Pokemon Company, but also apparently my friends. So that's going to be, I don't give enough of like my privacy up with my social media. I need to tell everybody how I'm sleeping as well, which, by the way, last night, not good. I would not have had a good score last night. I went to bed at like 1 a.m. and then maybe it's the travel, even though I was coming back from a later time zone. But I woke up at like 7. So it was like, cool, thanks, body. 6 hours. That's not sufficient.
So does Snorlax get mad at you if you don't sleep well? Like, does he have any like opinions about like, is he the one that reports in your sleep? Like, hey, you could sleep better.
I don't know. I know there's a professor that is involved, just like there is with Pokemon Go, like a non like mainline series Pokemon professor.
Wait a second, and bear with me for what I'm about to say, but is it Dr. Sleep?
Dr. Sleep.
It's a Shining reference.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, I was like, there is no, it's not.
It's Ewan McGregor. Okay.
Yeah, I did remember. I was like, why does that sound familiar? I was like, Dr. Sleep. I was like, is that a WWE thing?
There have been other doctors. We haven't gotten a sleep doctor yet.
He's just really good at chokeholds.
There is a dentist in AEW.
There is. Yeah, I do know that. But yeah, that's all the news we have from the Pokemon gaming side. But we also, because, you know, San Diego Comic-Con's going on right now, we got a look at Pokemon Horizons, which is the new series that follows the end of Ash's journey. So this stars 2 new characters, Liko and her Sprigatito, and Roy and his Fuecoco. And then they released an 11-minute sneak peek at episode 1. And then we also got a new trailer for Pokemon To Be a Master, which is a collection of anime episodes that will conclude Pokemon Ultimate Journeys, the series, which is meant to be a nostalgic end cap for Ash's journey. So apparently it's going to bring back characters like Misty and Brock, and then it's also going to serve as the final chapter of the journey for Ash. So that's one I'll probably end up tuning in for, and then I'll wait to see what people think of the new anime, maybe before I dive into like the Liko and Roy journey. But I don't know if we have a release date for the Pokemon Horizons, the new series. But Pokemon To Be a Master comes out on September 8th on Netflix. Do you have any interest in this?
The other series, the sort of like Ash wrap up thing. If I hadn't just recently canceled my Netflix account, I would probably tune into that. Even though I haven't watched Pokemon since the Johto season, like that Johto, like I saw all of that, and that was I checked out of the series after that. Like I actually checked out is being nice. I rage quit the series because I was so upset that Ash didn't win that tournament. Like it seemed set up for him to win, and then yeah, he beat Gary, but then he lost, and it's like what? How do you know? But even not having seen the majority of like the 25 seasons, it's like I kind of would like to see how they end this. And like you said, it's cool to see Misty and Brock, and I don't know who they bring back. Do you think they bring back everyone's favorite companion, Tracy?
I was just thinking that.
From Orange Islands, remember him?
I do remember that. He just points his camera. It's infuriating.
He just sketches things and...
Yeah, so... Oh, wait, yeah, he
was the artist.
Yeah, he's the artist. I was thinking of the guy from Pokemon Snap. They had him on a couple of the episodes too, right?
Wait, like the main character from Pokemon Snap?
Yeah, I think he's made an appearance on. Now I need to look this up.
Really? Huh. I did not know that. I don't even know if I know that person's name. I just kind of like assume he's just me.
You're going to be very upset at his name.
Oh boy, it's going to be a bad pun, isn't it?
His name is Todd Snap.
Todd Snap.
And yes, he has appeared in the anime. I was like, was that a fever dream?
It's probably when I was watching too. I probably just didn't connect that was the same kid.
I don't know how many episodes it's been. I'm looking at the Pokemon wiki right now. It looks like maybe 6 episodes he's appeared in.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. Yeah, so Tracy, he's the artist. Yeah, I do remember Tracy. And the thing that turned me off of the series for a while there, I did eventually get back into it, was the removal of Misty and Brock. And I know they wanted to introduce new companions, but like everybody loved those characters so much, and they're just like, nah, they're going their separate ways. And it's like, come on. Like,
yeah,
it's like such a great dynamic.
It's bad enough to see Ash get rid of Pokemon when they're really good. It's like, do you really want to leave your Squirtle? Or like when he was giving them all away left and right.
Oh my God.
And you're like, I don't like this. It's like, I get that you have to have new Pokemon, but I don't like this.
Just have him leave it at Professor Oak.
Yeah, like, and he did it so, I think because he did it so like back to back that it was like, I'm still recovering from the last one you gave away.
Whiplash.
Yeah, and it's like, let me not Pidgeot too. He just became Pidgeot. Now we can't even fly around on him.
Oh, it was immediate that he gave up Pidgeot. Like, he had Pidgeotto for so long, and then as soon as it evolved into Pidgeot, goodbye.
He wrote it one time, and it's like, that could be really useful for travel. Nope, bye.
Well, that's the thing, is like, it's too useful for travel. It's like, it's like all the Avengers movies, how they kind of have to take Thor out of the equation for the non-Avengers movies, because Thor would just like easily defeat any of these like Earth-based enemies. So it's like, yeah, Pidgeot would be too OP for travel around this world. We need to get rid of him.
And I also wonder, since you've watched longer than me, have they ever changed Misty and Brock's voice actors? Because I know Ash got a new one at a certain point, but have they stayed the same?
I think Brock's voice changed. I don't know about Misty.
Okay, because wasn't Brock originally voiced by the guy that voiced Seto Kaiba in Yu-Gi-Oh?
That sounds right, now that I'm listening to both their voices in my head right now.
Yeah, Eric Stewart, I think his name is. I think. I might be wrong, but...
I am not sure.
Okay. I don't know. I only asked that because it's like, if I did watch the sort of wrap-up show, it would be nice to hear them again. But I don't know if that change has already happened like a long time ago, for all I know. Who knows? But
it probably, I don't know. I mean, 25 years later or whatever it is, I would imagine it has been.
It's not
some of them have retired.
Yeah. It's like, that's why you get one person to do everyone, like The Simpsons.
Well, hey, Sarah Natochenny, who has done Ash, I know she wasn't the original Ash voice actor, but she did it for 17 years. So that's a pretty solid accomplishment.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's the vast majority of the series. Like, she may as well just be Ash at this point.
We basically talked about that. If you go back and listen to the episode where she was my guest, she was like, yeah, like no one really has that type of job security outside of like The Simpsons.
Right. Well, I was going to bring up too, because you mentioned that the new series doesn't have a release date. We do have a news story that went up at least this morning as we're recording. Apparently, they released an 11-minute like sneak peek of the first episode. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that.
I haven't had a chance to watch. I did mention that earlier, though.
Oh, you did? Okay, so my bad. I'm stupid.
No, it's all good.
But yes, I might watch that just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I probably will as well. But I think what I need to do is get caught up on the latest season of Pokemon because I want to see like the championship win from Ash because I haven't seen that yet. And then watch Pokemon to be a Master, which, again, coming out September 8th on Netflix. And by the way, that reminds me, because you mentioned how you canceled Netflix. Netflix should probably pay its writers and actors. All right.
Yeah.
And speaking of unions, look at this transition. Sega of America has officially won its unionization vote to become the largest multi-department union in the games industry.
Woo.
And the vote passed 91-26, and the union now includes more than 200 Sega of America employees. So yeah, good for them. Very happy for them. I hope it gets them all of the stuff that they're looking for. I mean, I think that that's something that I definitely am in support of.
Yeah, Sonic has always struck me as someone that would join a union.
Yeah, Sonic is very pro-union.
He was in a resistance force in the old cartoon show.
Yeah, the only guy that I don't trust is the stereotypical French guy in that.
Oh, the fox guy. What was he?
What was
He's
his
like
name?
a chipmunk. I knew you were talking about the cowardly guy.
Yeah, that is very funny that they made the French guy cowardly. Like they really played into like let's just be really offensive and stereotypical.
Yeah, he seems like the guy that would like snitch on the union or whatever, right? he would try to get it shut down. He'd be like, I don't know, guys, maybe we should. He's like telling the corporate bosses what they're planning and stuff.
Antoine Depardieu was
he had
his
a
name.
last name.
Well, all of them did. So Sonic the Hedgehog, which I guess the Hedgehog is his last name. Sally.
Oh God.
Sally Acorn. Miles Tails Prower. Rotor the Walrus is the only one that appears to be following the name convention of name the animal.
Have you ever, in all your interviews with like the Sonic Rage, have you ever asked like, is the Hedgehog his last name officially?
I have not asked that.
Is it like secretly like that is accurate? Because like, I don't know if you've ever watched Hey Arnold, the Jungle movie.
Where they finally reveal Arnold's last name.
Yeah, do you remember that?
No.
Okay, I can tell you if you want to know.
know what it is. I know what it is. I haven't seen that movie. I've only seen the Rocko's Modern Life like revitalization, and that was very good.
Yeah.
Here's the one that always drove me crazy from the Saturday morning cartoon. Bunny Rabbot, because she was half rabbit, half robot.
Right.
Yeah,
do you think that was her name before she became a robot? Like it just sort of worked out?
That would be very serendipitous.
It's like just this self-fulfilling prophecy. You come from a long line of Rabbots.
Kind of like how Doug Bowser is now the president of Nintendo of America.
It's only a matter of time before he starts kidnapping helpless princesses.
Yes, very, very good. All right, let's move on to a game you reviewed for us. We got a new trailer for the TMNT Shredder's Revenge DLC, Dimension Shell Shock. We already knew it was coming with a new playable character, Yojimbo, sorry. And new skins for the other playable characters, but we got news of a new mode coming to the game through this DLC, and that is survival mode. And apparently this lets you battle across dimensions to earn crystals, and then you can use those crystals to upgrade like your life bar, your power bar, your radical mode, and other things. So this seems like a pretty substantial piece of DLC when you take into like new playable character, new skins, and this new mode.
Yeah, I mean, Usagi Yojimbo by himself is already like... to me, that's like the main selling point because he's always been a cool like cameo character in the various series. But I like that it's deeper than that. Like the survival mode sounds cool. Like you can turn into the bosses for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, like they haven't explained what it is, but in the most recent trailer they showed like, hey, you can turn into Bebop and Rocksteady and play as them. They're like, okay, that seems cool. I mean, any excuse to play more of that game is A-okay to me. So, and this looks like a pretty substantial update. I mean, it's a paid DLC, so I guess that's why it is. But yeah, looks awesome.
Yeah, I don't think we have a release date yet. It looks like it's just kind of like late 2023.
Yeah,
but I'm excited for the new skins because like you can do like the movie versions of the characters. Like they're still like the pixelated style, but like. You know, you can like have like some of them had like a darker green or like a kind of like a different complexion.
The bandana like mask.
Yeah,
like that covers their whole head.
I was never a fan of that look, but you know.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Kind of looks like they're wearing a do-rag. I would love it if they did like the 2003 series and just made them look like that, but pixelated. 'Cause to me, that's the best turtle series ever made. You know what I'm talking about from Fox?
Yeah, I never watched it, but I know a lot of people really love it.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's worth checking out if you want some good turtle stuff. But yeah, I hope maybe one day we get that. I know this game is steeped in like the 1987 show, which is great, but like if they keep going with it, or like, hey, let's just do like the 2012 turtle show, or you know whatever show is on
Let's
right
just do the
now.
Michael Bay movies.
Yeah, I if we really, yeah, how about we just skip to the new one that's coming out? We could just ignore those.
What I want to know is, what are you feeling about this new movie that we're seeing trailers for?
I'm psyched for it. It looks awesome. Like I think the performances sound nice. I think the art style looks good. 'Cause it's clearly they're doing a Spider Verse thing, but it still looks distinct.
Yeah,
You know, which I like that it's not just Spider Verse with the turtles. Like okay, this has its own style. The cast looks insane. Just the amount of names that are in there. I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy to have a what looks like a good looking Turtles movie after the Mike. I only saw the first Michael Bay one, but I was just so unhappy with it that it's been a while since I've gotten excited about turtles in cinema. And
yeah.
so it
Like
feels good to feel positive about that again.
I was actually really looking forward to the second Michael Bay movie. The first one, I was like, I didn't like it from the jump, basically. And I was kind of proven right in that first impression. But the second one, I was like, okay, we're having Bebop and Rocksteady,
Played by Seamus.
and we have Krang. And I was excited to see like live action Krang, even though like, you know, live action is a very loose term that we're using. Just like kind of when they're like, oh, it's a live action Lion King. It's like, no, that's all CGI. What are you talking about?
Right.
But yeah, like seeing like Krang in like a live action movie, and them actually trying to do Shredder the right way as opposed to what they did with that first one. But yeah, it was more fun than the first one. I think it was a better movie than the first one, but it still wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah, I can't stand looking at the turtles. They're just too
Yeah.
realistic looking. Like their lips is what sets me off. Like they have lips, and I can't stop staring at them. Like I don't like their human lips. You know.
Yeah, I'm excited for this new one. I think that it looks really good. The only thing that's kind of driving me crazy, some of the voices just don't sound the way I want them to, and maybe that's
For the
just the old.
turtles,
Yeah, like is it Donatello who has like the really high pitched voice?
I think yeah, that's yeah, I think yeah.
Like, and I'm sure that's more of a direction thing than the actual actor. But like, I was like, oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna like this over the course of like I'm assuming it's like a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, I think Raph's the only one that threw me off because you know we're so used to sort of gruff like Brooklyn accent Raph. But I think I'm kind of telling myself like, okay, they're clearly these are supposed to be like younger versions of the turtles.
But they're still teenagers, or else what are we doing?
I mean, like younger. I mean, 13 is a teenager.
Yeah, I guess. Well, yeah, yeah. It's just, you know, maybe they should have called it pre-Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, then they'd have to be like, do we want that origin story of like this is when they're like 9 years old?
No, but it's funny that like Seth Rogen is involved with this, because you know if you go back and listen to the interview that I had with him for the Mario movie, you know, we kind of bonded a little bit over the fact that the first bad movie that we both remember seeing in theaters was the Mario movie. And I remember the second bad movie that I remember seeing in theaters was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which
You
is
know,
just a garbage movie.
I as a kid I liked that movie. It wasn't until I became like older that I realized that apparently nobody likes that movie.
Oh, even as a kid, I hated it. Like those were the first two movies that told me like, even if I love a brand, I can still dislike something that comes out of that brand.
Yeah, see, like I was self-aware enough to hate the Mario movie. Not well, maybe not hate the Mario movie, but I knew like this is weird and not what I want from Mario. But I don't know, Turtles 3, I was like, oh, time travel, that's cool. Japan. And I also like, I mean, not even I think I still want the weird like time travel like rod thing that they are holding. You know, they like had the thing that spun around, and I still kind of want that for some reason.
Yeah, I did have a toy with that thing, I think, because I think like they released the toys ahead of time, and I ended up buying some of them. I mean, I had a billion Turtles toys.
Yeah,
And every once in a while, I'll go back to my parent. I'll go to my parents' current house, and they have like a box upstairs with like a bunch of my old like action figures and everything. And they let like my nephews play with them. whenever they come over. And every
Hmm.
once in a while, I'll salvage one. Like I'll rescue it and bring it back to my house. Like when I go visit them, like I've started doing that. Like I've rescued two Power Rangers action figures from like way back in the day, and then I rescued my my Knuckles '90s Happy Meal toy.
Ooh, oh, whoa! I don't even know if I knew that they had Sonic toys
Oh,
for
it was so that's why
back
Sonic
then.
3 was split into two games. That's why we have Sonic and Knuckles and Lock On Technologies, because they had a Happy Meal deal that they had to put out a game to coincide with the timing of that. So they split out Sonic 3 into Sonic 3 and Sonic 3 and, or Sonic and Knuckles.
Man, I must have missed that. If I was a kid, because I was a huge Sonic fan, I would have absolutely begged my mom, like, we got it. Because I did that for other Happy Meal toys. It must have been one of those situations where I asked and she hit me with the comeback that you can't escape from of, do you have McDonald's money? And it's like, Mom, you know that I don't. Why do you have to shut me down like this?
But yeah, like I used to have the Sonic, the Knuckles, and the Dr. Robotnik toys, and I never got the Tails one. I remember that was super rare, and I would go to like
Really?
thrift shops and pawn shops and everything looking for it when back then,
Hmm.
because like people would just like take their old Happy Meal toys and just dump them at like consignment shops and stuff. So I would actually go into those looking for the Tails one, and I never found it. I always find Sonic and Knuckles and Dr. Robotnik, and I just never found the Tails one. And I think it was because it was one of those ones, like it was like a ripcord where you pulled it and then Tails like flew up. But
Yeah.
like I think those were probably pretty susceptible to breaking, so people probably just threw them out. But yeah, I just never got that one. I had like I loved playing with the Sonic one. The Sonic one had like a little like it was like he was running and he had like kind of like a burst of flames behind him, and you
Yeah.
plugged him into the flames and you pushed the top button of the flames and he would like roll forward. He had wheels on the bottom.
Did you guys ever just try asking, like, if they had the Tails ones at McDonald's? Like, were
I mean,
you or
I
your
didn't know
parents
you could.
ever okay, I was gonna say, like, because did you guys ever have the audacity to say, like, I would like to request the toy, then leaving it to the luck of the draw?
So I didn't know you could do that until I was an adult, and they had the Pokemon cards as like the Happy Meal thing, and I'm going there, and I remember like I was ordering a Happy Meal as like a 33-year-old man
Oh, you're one of
who
those,
doesn't
huh?
have any kids, and they're like, is it for a boy or a girl? I guess they had like Hello Kitty and then they had Pokemon cards, and I was just like, it's for me.
Why did you say it? Why wouldn't you just lie? They're not going to verify. At least save face, but yeah, it's for my son. Like, they're not going to check.
They might. They might. You
Like,
never
we
know
need
what
proof.
McDonald's is capable of.
Shit.
Corporations have a lot of power in this country, man.
It's like I've ordered Happy Meals even like as recently as like months ago, just because I was like, oh, I want McDonald's, but I don't want a full meal. I just want something small. But like they never ask. But like I was gonna say, like I remember going to McDonald's as a kid with like a friend's family, and they asked, like, they're like, can we get this toy specifically? And I remember being blown away and like almost like embarrassed because I thought they were like crossing a line and that we were gonna get kicked out or like arrested of like, you can't, that's not how this works. But then the guy, because like in hindsight, you're like, they don't care. They don't get paid enough to care.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, sure, whatever, who cares? And I just remember being like, again, embarrassed, but then impressed when it worked and was like, but then never had the balls to do it myself. So, because I was like, I don't think it'll work if I do. I don't have the confidence.
That's the ultimate off the menu item, is just going up and asking them if you can just buy the toy and not the Happy Meal.
Yeah, or just be like, you look at the toy you got, like, hey, can I get another one? I already got this one. Is it cool if you switch it out? And they're like, yeah, who cares? I get paid
Yeah.
minimum wage.
I wish I would have gone to McDonald's when they had the Mario movie toys. They had, I think that's what they had, right? Didn't they have Mario movie toys?
Yeah.
It was one of them that had it. I think it was McDonald's.
You know, I had I got the Oreos this past weekend. They have the Mario Oreos.
Yeah.
I bought them.
They sent me a thing. You can actually see a little bit of an unboxing, I guess, if you want to call it that, on the Game Informer Instagram page. They sent me a thing, and I opened up and laid out some of the unique designs that I got. And then on my Instagram page, I did kind of like a reel, because it came in like a giant question mark block. And when you open it, it played the overworld theme from Mario 1.
What?
And yeah, just go on my Instagram, and it's a reel that I posted probably 2 weeks ago now, maybe a week ago. I don't know. And it's a very cool box. And unfortunately, I had to dismantle it in order to recycle it.
I was gonna say, can you use it like if you close it back up? Is it like a music box? Can it keep doing it? But I guess
Yeah,
it's
it
oh
did it.
okay.
it did it over and over again. But I was like, what am I gonna do with this? Like,
You keep it, and then when people come over, you go, "Hey, watch this."
hey, check this out. It's this song that you can just play on YouTube whenever you want. But all right, Marcus, that is all the news for today. We are going to take a quick break. Actually, wait, we're not going to take a quick break yet because you need to tell us where you can find us on social media.
Oh, yeah, I'm on Twitter at MarcusStewart7, and also I got to get used to this. I'm on Blue Sky now. I did it, and it's also the same thing at MarcusStewart7 on Blue Sky.
All right, well, now we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to learn if Pikmin 4 was worth the wait. We will be right back. We all know about the speed of sound, but have you ever thought about the sounds of speeding? Drive too fast, and you could hear the sound of your vehicle crashing. Because one way or another, speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA. With Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 all on Switch right now, Pikmin Bloom coming out a few years ago, and Olimar appearing in Smash Ultimate, it may seem like the Pikmin franchise is a bit more active than it actually is, but when you look at it, it's actually been almost exactly a decade since the last mainline entry launched on Wii U. But that changes today because as you're listening to this, Pikmin 4 is finally out. I'm joined now by Kyle Hilliard, who has reviewed the game for Game Informer. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm better because I've played so much Pikmin 4.
Yeah? So let's talk about it. We did a preview a couple weeks ago. You seemed like you were pretty high on those early hours. How did your kind of impressions of the game evolve over the course of your playthrough?
I mean, I guess they haven't changed much. I was positive on that episode where we talked about it in preview capacity, and like it's not like the game changes in a radical way after those first couple levels that I was allowed to talk about. In fact, like that's kind of one of the nice things about it is like they introduced the new mechanics that I like a lot early, and then everything else is just kind of like cool stuff happens. You go to a cool level, you fight a cool boss, right? It only gets better, but not like radically better. It's not like, oh man, once you hit the 5th level, the whole game changes and it's like this miracle of game design. It's like it starts out strong and it stays strong and it ends on a strong note. Like the one of the highest compliments I can give to any video game, and maybe you feel the same way, Brian, is like after I was done, I reviewed it, I saw credits, I saw the proper ending, I sat down, I wrote the review, and I picked the game back up and kept playing. Right? Like I had no obligation to keep playing. I played out of pure just enjoyment of the game, and I did almost everything. There's a couple like there's these Dandori challenges which are like you versus another AI character, or maybe like you have to collect this much energy in this amount of time. And you can just beat those and you can progress. But if you really want to do it, get everything, so to speak, you could get like platinum medals on those. And those were the kind of things I was like, I'm good. I don't need to like get platinums on everything. But every little bit of like story, so to speak, like I wanted to experience and play. And I collected everything, for example. Everything that you can get in the world, I collected and stuff like that.
Have you always been like a big collect-a-thon guy? Because like I loved playing Mario 64, but like when it came down to like, all right, collect the 8 red coins or collect the 100 gold coins in a level or whatever, like I just couldn't be bothered with that. And then when I tried Banjo-Kazooie, I was like, oh, I really like the platforming and the level design, but man, does it suck to have to like collect all this stuff to progress through this level or this game. Like, have you ever had like a higher tolerance of that?
I mean, it just depends on the game, right? Like if I don't, it comes down to if I want an excuse to keep playing a game, if I'm having so much fun that I don't want to stop playing, then I will go after that stuff, right? I love Mario 64. So I got, was it 6 stars in every level or 8? I can't remember. I claim to love Mario 64. I don't even remember how many stars are in each level.
It's been almost 30 years since that game came out, which is wild.
But I absolutely got all 120 stars in that game. I collected 100 coins in every level. I think I even did it multiple times, like in my life. So that was an instance where I was like, yeah, I want an excuse to play more of this game. Give it to me. But again, like it's funny that you use Banjo-Kazooie as the example, or like Donkey Kong 64 is another one where I was just having like middling. I like those games fine, But it was certainly like, I never beat them. Like I was just like, I'm good. You know, just because there is more to collect doesn't automatically make me more excited about it. But the thing about Pikmin 4 is like, it's fun to see how much you can collect in the limited amount of time you have. It's fun to see what you're collecting because you're collecting all kinds of real world things. And every time you collect something that you recognize from the real world, not Olimar, but like the alien race in the game that you are, because you are an alien ultimately. You're a little guy, right? Which we'll get into more later. They name them weird things. I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but I would like to, I was like, yeah, I'll go collect a banana because I want to see what the heck they call this this weird thing to them. Like they call it the pratfall device or something like that. And I liked seeing the sort of weird alien translations of all the little items you collect and stuff like that.
Now, are there any like brand synergies in this? Like in past Pikmin games, like, there's been like the different like kind of like branded licensed items out in the world. Like, is any of that in Pikmin 4?
Yeah, I won't spoil it all, but there's a whole like collection of Nintendo things to collect. The demo, I believe, you collect a Game Boy Advance SP, and that's just like the first thing of like 12 or 13 things that you can collect that are, Nintendo things. So those were always the most fun to get. Like if you dig up something and you're like, oh, I know what that is. What do they got to call it?
I was wondering where I left my SP.
Yeah, exactly.
So for people who may not have listened to the last or 2 episodes ago, what is kind of the elevator pitch for Pikmin 4, both as somebody who's never played Pikmin, but also like what this brings new to the table?
Right. I mean, this is my favorite Pikmin. I have officially played all the Pikmin now. I like weirdly played Pikmin 1 for the first time a few weeks ago when it came to Switch. I had only dabbled previously, but now I actually played and beaten it. And Pikmin 4 is like pretty handily my favorite one. Like it's kind of like no contest because Ochi, the dog, really helps you manage things in a way that it like keeps the game from getting annoying. Because like past Pikmins, I would get annoyed with them because as kind of like cool as it looks to, guide a group of 100 little plant creatures around to do your bidding, like it's annoying to sort of deal with 100 characters when you're like walking up a bridge or like through this little door or something like that. But Ochi lets you put all the Pikmin up to 100 on his back, and then it's in those moments where you don't need the Pikmin spread out, Ochi's there to make it just so much easier. And he does the work of like up to 50 Pikmin. So if he can carry really heavy things for you. He's really great in combat. Stuff like he makes combat a lot more fun. Like it's one of those things where it's like in trailers, they're like, okay, they added a cute dog. That's fun. Like great. That's cute was kind of my reaction. But actually playing the game, it's like mechanically, I was like, oh, this is a game changer, and it just makes everything so much more fun, and I like it so much more. And it's like there's things like I wouldn't say like, oh, you're gonna love the story of Pikmin 4. Like there's not much of a story. You crash land on a planet, you got to figure out how to get off that planet. But there's like fun little twists and like returning characters if you've played any other Pikmin games, and like what you're doing is you're rescuing all these other aliens that have crash landed on like what appears to be Earth or some facsimile of Earth. And all of them have like a personality and a couple lines of dialogue, and they're fun to sort of save and unlock. And so it's like, I liked seeing it to the end. I wanted to see what was going to happen, even if the story is like, just very perfunctory ultimately.
And, like this is the 4th mainline entry in the Pikmin franchise. It's pretty well established what the Pikmin formula is. How far does this really stretch that formula? Is it pretty by the books, or is it really like kind of take it into some interesting directions?
I mean, it doesn't change things radically, right? Like it maintains the sort of status quo of Pikmin. Like you collect Pikmin, you have a few different types of Pikmin, and the gameplay is like, how do I use these different types of Pikmin to achieve what I need to achieve? And Pikmin 4 just removes a lot of the frustrations that were in past games, where it's like, for example, like the design of the levels, they're just better. Like in the past, they just kind of felt like mazes, and you would kind of unlock shortcuts, but everything kind of looked the same. But these new levels are designed, they're still like functionally kind of similar. They're still kind of mazy. There's still a big advantage to unlocking shortcuts, but they've made a lot more like iconic things present all over the map. So it's like you never get lost, really. You can learn a level really quickly because everything looks a little bit different. Like there's one episode where you're like walking, part of the level is in this giant outdoor grill, right? And it's just like, that's just a different enough from the rest of the level that it's like, oh, I know this landmark. It's easier to learn. Where in the past, like, I kind of just had to rely on the map a lot and like look at the maze of it all a lot. And I would get lost and be like, I shouldn't have come this way. And now I've lost all this time. So that stuff has all improved. Like it's just the smoothest version of Pikmin, and Ochi helps a lot with that. And then the other big thing, the big addition, is like these underground areas that the sort of closest thing I can relate them to is shrines in Zelda. Because like you come across them, there's a handful in every level. You go underground and it's like just really specific, dedicated, bite-sized Pikmin gameplay. And when you're underground working on those, you do not worry about the timer at all, because they have this sort of like hand-waved explanation of like, when you're underground, time passes slower. Don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. It's just like, that's just how it is. And I appreciated that it was like I always liked coming across those, because I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go underground. I'm not going to have to worry about the clock. And I'm just going to get like, a couple of Pikmin puzzles, and then I'll come back up for air. And I really like that sort of mechanic. It's not really a mechanic. I guess it's more like a level design, but I just think it was like implemented really well, and I really liked it.
And I know this game also adds the nighttime kind of expeditions that you can go on, which is the first time that they've ever done that in the series. Like, does that like dramatically or radically change the experience?
No, it's actually the part of the game that I sort of engaged with the least. It was the thing I put off until the end, because like what happens is you'll save some people, so whatever they are. They're actually all from different planets. They all have different home planets and stuff, which is kind of fun, even though they all look the same. But like what happens is some of them have this terrible disease where they're like growing leaves out of their face. It's very body horror.
It's Last of Us-esque.
Yeah, it's very weird. And then what you do is you go on the night missions to save them. And what it becomes is like when you're doing those, it's tower defense, and you have a very specific type of night Pikmin, and you're just guarding like a little, it looks kind of like a sandcastle through the night. And so it's like all combat. You're not collecting things. You're not even worrying about losing Pikmin necessarily. You're just trying to protect this one thing for a long period of time. And it's kind of like repetitive, because it doesn't mix it up that much to play those every time you got to save someone. And so by the end of the game, I actually had like, I don't know, I want to say like 12 or 13 just like, diseased bodies on the ground waiting to be saved. And then I did like a marathon of them all. It's not like bad. I'm not saying it's like a bad addition. I had fun, but those were the ones that were like felt the most repetitive, that I kind of like I waited to do last, because I was like, I'm the least interested in doing these. So it does not change the game in a big way. It's just kind of it's just another way to mix things up and have you do different things other than just straight Pikmin levels. Like you have the underground things, you have the Dandori missions that I talked about, and you have the nighttime stuff, and it's sort of your prerogative to bounce around and do those in any order that you want, so that like you just never get bored, which is nice. It's great to have that choice.
And it's interesting that like you're talking about, it's like almost like a tower defense style, because this Pikmin has long been like Nintendo's reaction to like the real-time strategy genre.
Yeah.
So like how solid are those kind of tower defense mechanics?
I mean, they're pretty limited, right? Like you have the thing that you're trying to protect. What I would do is like you can tell Ochi to just stay by the castle. And then I would go out and try to take out enemies before they even started like walking towards the castle, and like growing my army of Pikmin. And then what would happen is I would get an alert, and it would be like, hey, Ochi's getting attacked. And then I would run back and just throw all my Pikmin at the bad guys who happen to get close to the sandcastle. It's not that sort of detailed. It's not like you're looking at an overhead map and like making decisions and being like, I'm going to put 5 Pikmin over here and 10 over here. It's like, nope, you have your Pikmin with you, and you just got to make sure that you're attacking the characters that you need to attack. Like from a gameplay perspective, it's basically identical from the rest of the game. It's just the structure of how it works is different.
As somebody who loves tower defense games, that sounds like the kind that I would just not enjoy, because like I love tower defense titles like when they're really good, but then when it comes down to like, I remember Assassin's Creed was trying to do some tower defense stuff for a while, and it just didn't feel good. And then like, even as much as we sing the praises of Tears of the Kingdom, and I think that's going to be far and away my game of the year, there's a sequence in there that I really did not enjoy too much that kind of veers close to tower defense.
Yeah.
And yeah, when it works, tower defense is like top tier stuff, but like Plants vs Zombies is a pretty rudimentary but also very good example of tower defense.
God, I feel like I played through the first couple levels of that in the last year. I was like, man, this holds up. But that isn't to say that these like tower defense is just like the closest genre I can kind of point to. But it's definitely its own thing, and it's totally fine. I never got frustrated with it. I never was like annoyed with the mechanics. I never was playing it and I was like, I wish this worked a different way. It was just like, it was fine. You know, it was like you run around and you throw Pikmin at bad guys, and you want to do them in the right order so they don't destroy your castle, is basically what it comes down to.
And how long is this game? Because the first Pikmin game was pretty short. Like, what was it? Like less than 10 hours, I'm pretty sure it takes on a normal run to beat Pikmin 1. And I think Pikmin 2 and 3 were a bit longer. And I know Pikmin 3 added a lot of new features. But like, when you look at Pikmin 4, do you have any indication of like what a normal run would take?
Yeah. So let's see, my clock says 35 hours.
Wow. That's quite the step up.
And that's me doing a lot of the extra stuff. There's you hit a point where you can kind of call it early. If you're like, I'm good, I got a full Pikmin 4 experience, I am satisfied, I am ready to go back to Tears of the Kingdom or whatever it is and play something different. But then you can keep going if you want. And that was probably maybe up to 10 or 15 hours of additional gameplay that I was like, you know what? I do want to keep going. I do want to keep playing. I was looking to see if maybe my in-game clock says 38 hours. So like that's me doing nearly everything. Is where I'm at with that. So like, but if you're a casual player and you just want to play sort of the main story and get through it, you could probably get through it like 25 or 30 hours, probably 25.
Gotcha. And this was a game that I think a lot of people were looking towards as like the first major release of Nintendo's second half of this year. And, we now know there's a lot more coming this year after that last Nintendo Direct, but does this kind of like start the second half of the year off on like the right foot, do you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm very happy with Pikmin 4. I kind of went into it with a weird pessimism. I think we talked about this when we talked about Pikmin, where it was like, I've always been like a middling fan. I'm like, I played Pikmin 2 and it was fine. I liked Pikmin 3. I remember like really not liking the end boss at Pikmin 3. And it was very much a game that I was like, I finished it and I was like, I borderline don't want to think about that game anymore. Right. Like it was fine. And then, just recently I replayed Pikmin 1 and I kind of finally admitted to myself, I was like, man, I think you like Pikmin and you just need to start living that lifestyle and let it define your personality. And then I went into Pikmin 4 and I was like, I really like this because it cleans up a lot of the frustrations I had with previous games. And it looks great. Like Switch first party games look great. It's so solid. I can't even think of like a single bug I hit or anything like that other than the actual physical bugs that I threw Pikmin at in the game to kill them and drag their corpses back to my spaceship. But I'm very happy with it. Like I went in with like, I wouldn't say low expectations, just kind of like middling, like I bet this will be solid, like Nintendo first party. How can you go wrong? And I ended up being like, I really like this a lot. This will almost certainly be on my top 10 at the end of the year. I can say with some certainty. You never know, what the rest of the year looks like. But like if I were to make that list now, this would probably be like top 3, I think, maybe.
And this is the one you would recommend somebody start with. If somebody's never played Pikmin before, this is the one you'd be like, oh yeah, check out Pikmin 4.
Yeah, just start with 4. If you really love 4 and you want sort of the sort of historical relevance of the series, it's nice that 1, 2, and 3 are available on Switch. But it's not like it's not a story heavy game. It even like you get introduced to like Olimar and his backstory in the opening. Like absolutely just play 4. Don't even worry. And if you love 4, then you can go back and think about it, but don't feel obligated to play the first 3 games to play 4. Just skip right to 4.
And last episode, I kind of handed out a report card for Nintendo's first half of 2023, and they got pretty solid scores across the board. Single player games, first party titles, third party titles, pretty solid. The one spot that they kind of didn't score super well in was in multiplayer games in the first half of the year. I know that Pikmin has some elements of multiplayer, but how are they in that category for Pikmin 4?
your co-op is right? Is that what you said? Okay, I missed it. The co-op is super light, like disappointingly light. It is very much like a Mario Odyssey sort of implementation, which is one of those things. Like, I don't think I even talked about it in the review, because it's like one of those things. It's like, I'm glad it's there. Cool that they think this through and include it, but it is very much a mode where it's like you play Pikmin 4, and then maybe a young player, a child, can take the second controller and kind of help you. Like, they get an on-screen cursor and can throw pebbles at enemies and stuff like that. And I think, and the one nice thing is, like, as you play, the second player gets more abilities, which is kind of cool. Like, you level it up. But it is this the secondary character is absolutely a very passive participant. It's really just, I think, there for, like, if you have young kids that want to know what you're playing, you can have them a controller, you can hand them a controller, and they can be involved, and that's fun. But, like, I went to play with my kid who's a little bit older now, and she was like, this is boring. Like, I have nothing to do. I'm done. You can just play by yourself, Dad. Like, it was like, there's just not that much there. But I'm glad it exists, right? I wouldn't say that it needs to be stripped out of the game. There's a very specific player that it's for, and I think it won't. Most Pikmin 4 players, it won't be there for them. It'll be for somebody else.
So it kind of sounds like the Mario Galaxy type of multiplayer.
Yep. Just like passive interaction, so that you don't have to fake a second controller for your kid.
All right. Well, what did you end up giving this?
Brian, I gave it a 9 out of 10. That's a good score.
That's a very good score.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're pretty high on this game. You said you would be surprised if it did not make your top 10 of 2023, which is very high praise, because this year is shaping up to just be like one of the best years we've had in a long time.
Yeah, no, it's a good year for sure. But we'll see by the end of the year. But I would be surprised if at the end of the year it's not in my top 10. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else we need to know about Pikmin 4 before we take our final break of this episode?
No, I had like a tip in mind, I remember, but now I don't remember what it was. But yeah, good game. Pikmin 4.
Sounds like it. We are going to take our final break of the show, and when we get back, we will be doing Definitive Ranking and eShop Gem of the Week. We will be right back. We are back, and it is time for Definitive Ranking, a recurring segment where we take a Nintendo topic and give our personal top 5 lists. Since Pikmin is just a bunch of little guys, Kyle, I want to get your top 5 little guys in gaming. So start 5, count it down to 1, give me a quick sentence about each.
This is like, honestly, maybe one of the weirdest top 5 lists you've done. You sent me some options like, hey, we can do this or this, and I was like, let's do little guys. It's like such a weird one. Okay, number 5, Clank from Ratchet and Clank.
That's a good one.
He's a little guy on your back, and he's fun. He's kind of like he's a robot character, so he doesn't have a lot of emotion, but you gotta love Clank. He's cute.
You gotta love Clank.
Number 4, timely, relevant, Olimar from Pikmin, who does speak in Pikmin 3, but I didn't remember that. And when I boot up Pikmin 4, the game starts. He's like, "Hi, I'm Olimar," and he has like a way deeper voice than you would expect. Like, it really threw me off. I was like, oh my God, this is Olimar's voice? He sounds like Sid from Final Fantasy 16 or something like that. But Olimar, he's fun. And he's fun in Pikmin 4 as well. There's a couple of returning characters, and Olimar's one of them, and he's great. Number 3, maybe debatable, Midna.
Oh,
she's little,
interesting.
Right?
Yeah, she counts.
Because we said like about 3 feet, kind of arbitrarily.
This is a very arbitrary definition that we're going with here of little guys. Just really any little guy is basically like the definition that we're going with here.
Yeah, and she wears a big old helmet that gives her some extra height. And then she also has a humanoid form where she looks quite tall. Spoiler alerts for the end of Twilight Princess. But I mean, Midna, she's a little guy. She's great.
She's just a little guy doing her best.
She's my favorite secondary character, in the Zelda series.
Yeah, I mean, so. she's pretty awesome. I do like Midna a lot. I didn't at first when I first played Twilight Princess, like the first several hours. I was like, she's kind of annoying. She also kind of whenever she's around, like Link is a wolf, which I don't like as much as like when Link is a human. But yeah, Midna, I really came around on her.
Yeah, she's great. Number 2, Chibi Robo. He's a little robot that cleans your house for you. Even though like the first Chibi Robo game was so good and weird. I don't know if you've ever played it or seen it, Brian, but it's like weirdly dark. It's like about a family that's like maybe experiencing a divorce, and Chibi Robo is just like trying to keep the house clean and like, you know, sort of sits in on all these conversations and stuff. And then after that, he just kind of has since become like, they've really focused on just the little guy that cleans, you know, in the couple of games that we've had with Chibi Robo. He's just like, you know, there's not really much humanity to those games. They're just like, yeah, imagine if you were a little robot that was cleaning. We're like, well, we like that part of the game, but there's a whole other part of the original game that we like too.
The family's in a better place now.
That's true. Yeah, he's got better employers. Man, I should replay that game. Actually, I don't really remember how it
Put it out on Switch.
Yeah, they really should. Yeah, so Chibi Robo, he's adorable, number 2. And then number 1, greatest little guy of all time, Kirby.
That is a very good little guy.
What would you say, like foot, 2 feet, something like that?
Yeah, he's just a little guy.
Yeah, who can eat a car.
Who can eat a car? Yeah,
eat a car.
Mouthful mode really changed things, I think.
You're right. Yeah, beat that list, Brian.
All right, well, I'm going to do my best. Number 5, I'm going to go to the world of Pokemon, and this is just a little guy, but we don't really know what he looks like. It's Mimikyu. Just a horrifying little guy who apparently, if you see what he actually looks like under his Pikachu cosplay, it will kill you, according to the Pokedex. So I don't know if you've seen the anime when Mimikyu was first introduced, but kind of disturbing, kind of horrifying, and also the Pokedex entries would back it up. And I like Mimikyu. I went with a few other options like before I landed on Mimikyu, but I think that's the right choice because, you know, he's just a little guy, but he's also horrifying.
There's no world where we ever see what Mimikyu really looks like, right? Like that's just never.
We've only seen like the kind of like the was it black and purple hand that comes out and like swipes at things like a little claw, but like yeah, I don't know if there's any way that they're ever gonna like be like, yeah, this is now Mimikyu without. Maybe there's gonna be some like weird like evolved form that they eventually introduce where it like, I don't know, becomes too big for the cosplay but still wears it and it's just kind of like floating over top of a thing that you can obviously see what it looks like.
Well, also, not to really go down a Mimikyu side tangent here, but like, why can't they have? Why is there a lore reason for why Mimikyu can't wear different clothes, like different? Because it's not like it didn't grow Pikachu skin, right? It made that itself, right? So it could be like a Snorlax and Mimikyu if it wanted, right?
That would be very cute, but it'd have to go with Munchlax, right? The little one.
Or yeah.
He has to stay with the little guys. He's
I'm just saying any
little
other
guy.
Pokemon, yeah.
So
they should do that.
That would be a very cool twist on it. Like if they go to like, I don't know, the Galarian form of Mimikyu is like actually a Snorlax cosplayer instead.
Hell yeah.
That would be a very cute way to do regional variants of like, oh yeah, the Mimikyu in this area are actually obsessed with Charmander. I like that a lot, actually.
Let Pokemon Team know.
Yeah, I'm going to get Junichi Masuda on the horn right now, actually, and let him know. Number 4... maybe a weird choice for a lot of people. I'm going with Yarny from the Unravel series.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. Yeah.
Those games are very underrated. I liked both of those games a lot. And Yarny gets a lot of hate for some reason. I remember there was that article that came out like when they first announced Yarny. It was just like, Yarny can burn in hell or something. It's just like, what? Why is there so much like undue anger towards this cute little guy made out of yarn? I don't know.
He's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy, and he's doing his best. Number 3, the eponymous Knight from Hollow Knight. You know, he's like a little bug going around saving.
That's a good one too. Yeah, good one.
Saving the colony or whatever it is that he's doing out there. But yeah, it's a very good game, and he's a cute little guy.
Yeah, that's one of those games I played and beat and really enjoyed, but I couldn't really tell you what happened or what I was doing when I was doing, really. It's just like, okay.
I will fully admit I did not beat that game. It gets pretty difficult. Yeah, it's pretty tough, and I was just like, I'm going to move on to something else. Number 2, I believe that was where you had Midna, right? Or was that number 3 that you had Midna?
I already closed my list and deleted it.
It's okay.
I have to listen back.
Number 2 is my Zelda companion. That is Navi.
Navi.
Yeah.
Wow, that's almost too little, I think. I don't think that counts for this.
I don't know. I think she's the definition of just a little guy, you know?
I mean, but does she even have like a form? You know, is she just
She's a
energy
fairy. She's a
with
fairy.
wings? Yeah, but like, what does that mean? Like, we never see it, you know? Except in Wind Waker, you could trap a fairy in a jar and it looks like a sad Tinkerbell.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like that's canonically what they're supposed to look like, is they're like little Tinkerbells, but like because they're like shining so bright, you can only see the little wings sticking out from the light.
Yeah, I think she's molecular. I think she's just light energy with wings.
Well, the wings are physical. We know that much.
That's true. That's true.
So Navi is my number 2, and then number 1. This is the one where I think you might call me a dirty, rotten cheater. I'm going Mini Mushroom Mario.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, Mario's kind of a little guy in his own, right? He's a little dude, but I don't.
And now he's the littlest guy.
I was making fun of you. I was like, you can't like use a power up to define someone as a little guy, but like Midna, that's not her sort of canonical form, I suppose, when she's a little guy. But I don't know. It feels wrong, and I don't like it. I'm not going to stand for it. I just want it to be known that I think you're cheating. I think you've put Mass Effect Trilogy on your top 10 games of the year or whatever.
I mean, I did put Mass Effect Trilogy, I think, on my top 10 games of all time at one point.
God, I hate it. Just put Mass Effect 2 like an adult, Brian. Jesus.
That makes sense. Honestly,
the 9 Star Wars films are my favorite movie.
It is one saga. You're right. Mini Mushroom Mario, you know, not the greatest power up, but he does get like the little kind of floaty jump that he can do. He gets the ability to run underneath like secret platforms, basically. And it made a brief appearance in the Mario movie, which I think.
Oh yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, that's cute.
That officially brought Mini Mushroom Mario into the mainstream. So I think that solidifies him at the top. I'm surprised you did not do the Hero of the Minish from Minish Cap, that version of Link.
Yeah, well, that's because he transforms back and forth. Like sometimes he's Minish, sometimes he's not. But he's like, you know, it's like wearing different clothes, right? It's like he's still the size he normally is.
That's like,
but then that argument falls apart with Midna on my list, so I don't know what to do.
It also falls apart when you take into account that a lot of humans start out as just little guys and then they grow into adults.
Yeah, that's true.
Like every single one of us started out as just a little guy.
Yeah. We're all just little guys that grew up and learned how to talk. What can I say?
Not much. So we're going to transition on to the eShop Gem of the Week. Kyle, I am going to take the reins once more on this one. I don't know if you've played this one. This actually came to me via former Game Informer editor, now YouTube content creator extraordinaire, Leo Vader.
Mm-hmm.
A game called Streets of Rogue.
Oh, yeah. Leo wouldn't shut up about that game.
Leo loved this game so much. And I remember we used to do a thing where we would kind of get extra days to play games at the end of the year and make sure that like this is either does or does not belong on like our year-end list at Game Informer. And this was one that Leo was just all about. He was all about Streets of Rogue. And I was like, all right, well, it's a co-op game. It's kind of like a co-op twin stick shooter, but it's all class-based. And like, you know, you can choose to be like this, just a little guy with a baseball bat, or you could be like a ninja, or you could be like a super spy. And they all have distinct abilities and distinct weaknesses and everything. Like this one person can like hack computers faster. This other person like has more strength in their melee attacks. And another one's like a little bit stealthier. So like you have all these different abilities and different character classes you can choose. And it's all co-op. I mean, you can play it single player, but it's a lot more fun co-op. And I remember like looking over at Leo and be like, this game rules, dude. Like, I'm so glad that you brought this up. Like, Leo has such good taste in video games. And like, it's never like, I mean, he of course he likes some games that like everybody likes, like the Hitman games he loves. But like he has,
he was on that beat early.
He was, yeah, because a lot of people were hating on the reboot, I guess, of the Hitman trilogy because of like, you know, it was so content devoid,
episodic,
in the very beginning. But like, yeah, he was on it. Like, this game is really good, actually. But like, he has just an uncanny ability to find these little known gems, and this is the perfect example of it. Streets of Rogue. You know, it's $20. It has, I think, a DLC character pack that you can get. And if you want to get like the deluxe edition, it's only $23. So it's $3 more. And it gets you like the extra characters and everything in there. And I think there's a sequel actually in development currently, Streets of Rogue 2.
Yeah, indeed. I was just looking it up to see if there was a release date, and there is not yet. It's on Steam, just listed as coming soon, so it's in the works.
But so you go basically floor by floor, and each floor has like a different objective that you have to complete. And like sometimes it's like, oh great, I have like the perfect characters for this, and other times it's like, oh, this is going to be a lot more difficult than I wish it was, because like I have like just a brawler, and it's like this would be a lot easier if I could just stealth my way in. But like, you're gonna have to be a lot sneakier if you don't have like a stealth based character like the ninja or the secret spy or whatever. But like, it's a blast, especially if you have friends that you could play. It allows for up to 4-player co-op, either online or single player, or a single system. So check it out. It's $20 for the base game or $23 for kind of like the character pack edition. And it came out in 2019. So highly recommend Streets of Rogue, and shout out Leo Vader for always bringing the fire with your lesser known recommendations.
It's a specialty.
It is. So Kyle, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo. Always great hearing from you. Always great having you on here. And thanks for telling us all about Pikmin 4.
Yeah, thanks for assigning me the review.
Yeah,
really improved my life while I was playing.
And thank you so much to everyone for listening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, throw All Things Nintendo a 5-star review and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get any questions or comments in, you can get in touch at allthingsnintendo@GameInformer.com, or hit me up on Instagram at Brian Pichet. I'm also now on Threads and Blue Sky, so you can find me there, both at Brian Pichet. You can also join the Game Informer Community Discord, which is a perk for subscribing to our Twitch channel, even just for 1 month. Kyle, tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, Blue Sky and Threads, because, why not?
One of them's bound to win, right?
One's bound to win. I have accounts there. Hit those up if you want to see me doing some goat yoga from this weekend. That was pretty fun. On Twitter as well. Game Informer's TikTok. GameInformer.com. I don't know. All those places. Go find it. You find me. Read my Pikmin 4 review. It's on the site right now.
The social media landscape is really weird right now. It's kind of like giving me like Blu-ray HD DVD vibes, where it's like, all right, I don't want to like put all my everything in one bucket here.
Yeah, which one is the one that is like a peripheral that you have to plug into your console? That's the bad one. That's Threads, because that is attached to Instagram. That's what that is.
Except I think Threads is 100% going to win because of its affiliation with Instagram. So everybody has built-in followership. But yeah, that is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. If you speed, there are lots of sounds that you might hear, like the sound of your vehicle crashing, because eventually, speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.